Hello, my name is Anjie Schutz, and it is my pleasure and honor to serve as the current Iowa State Bar Association president. To my immediate right, I have a left, right? It's my my immediate left is Emily Chafa, the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee of the Iowa State Bar Association. Immediately to her left is David Brown, who is the ABA delegate from the Iowa State Bar Association. And then also we have Ashley Stewart with us, who was the first African-American woman to argue in front of the Iowa Supreme Court, and it is an appellate public defender here in the state of Iowa. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in this. I'll first ask, actually, David, as our ABA delegate from the Iowa State Bar Association, and someone who has served the ABA for more years than any of us care to count, can you just tell us a little bit about the process by which a Supreme Court justice goes through and the role of the American Bar Association in that process?
Thank you, Angie. It's an honor to talk to you today about that process because I think it's somewhat misunderstood because of the media hype either way on either party at any time. But the ABA appoints a number of us to be on what's called the Standing Committee of the Federal Judiciary. I've been honored to be part of that since 2010. I've been part of well over 100 evaluations of judges all over the United States, including 3 Supreme Court justices, including this one. And actually, I had an opportunity to interview Ketanji Brown Jackson for 6 hours in Washington when she was nominated to be a D.C. Circuit judge. The committee is 18 people. We get paid nothing. We're asked by the President of the United States to do these evaluations, and the amount of work that's involved in this is kind of overwhelming. We do not propose, we do not endorse, we do not recommend anyone. We're looking at competency, temperament, and ethics. And on this one, I think we sent out well over 2,000 contacts, talked to well over 250 people, interviewed people within the law schools, interviewed people within the academics, interviewed people who were prosecutors, people who were defense lawyers, interviewed Judge Jackson for several hours. I interviewed her in her prior nomination for over 6 hours straight. And basically to kind of get a sense of who they are and what they could do and what they could bring to the bench. I think it's fair to say that this is the only real peer review that this nominee ever had. And so while Iowa, I know, is devoted to basically merit selection of judges, the ABA has been way out there for years since President Eisenhower joined with the ABA in forming this committee. So we have vetted a lot of people all over the country, and I felt very satisfied that the well-qualified rating that we made as a committee was justified. I thought our chair and the people who were the primary evaluators did an excellent job testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And at some point, the senators have to vote their conscience. But I did notice at this point, it looks like Judge Jackson will probably be confirmed this week because I think they did get it out of committee. I think they basically have it before the full Senate. And I think my guess is she will be confirmed as a justice in the United States Supreme Court by the end of this week. That's somewhat where we're at, and I'd be glad to answer any questions any of you have or after we get done with our presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Well, David, could you just talk a little bit about, so the ABA's role, can you just talk a little bit about that as a part of this process? And not just, I guess, with the U.S. Supreme Court, but also the process within the federal bench.
Sure. When the president nominates somebody, he or she as president nominates somebody, basically we are asked to evaluate every single potential federal judge, and that's what we do. So at that point, we don't propose, we don't endorse anybody, we don't know who they are, but we do our best to determine are they qualified people to serve a lifetime appointment on the federal bench. And been honored to evaluate an awful lot of people, and the committee, I think it's fair to say I've known people on this committee for a long time. I don't know I have no idea how people vote. I don't know if they're Republicans, I don't know if they're Democrats, I don't know if they're for them or against them. They're there to determine the competency of the people and whether or not they should be seen as a lifetime judge. And I have to say it's quite an honor to serve that way. I think there's only been 2 of us in Iowa's history that have ever done it. And it was a presidential appointment when Steve Zack appointed me back in 2010. And right now I'm the vice chair of this committee, so I'm involved in it literally every day of the week, 365 days a year, and it is fascinating. And it's an honor to be here with you, fine lawyers who have been part of the process as well. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So Emily, as the ISBA chair for diversity and inclusion, can you speak to the historic nature of Judge Brown's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Yes. First of all, I will say on behalf of the Diversity and Inclusiveness Committee and on my own behalf, we're thrilled with this historic appointment. What we know is that diversity matters on the bench, especially in appellate court like the U.S. Supreme Court, like the Circuit Courts of Appeal, and like our own Iowa Supreme Court and Iowa Court of Appeals. So gender diversity matters, racial diversity matters, diversity in professional experiences matter, expertise, various perspectives. And I can say all of this in addition to what we just heard from David Brown. It's obvious that Ketanji Brown Jackson, in addition to offering this diversity of gender and race and professional experiences, is also a person of honor, of integrity, of incredible grace, expertise, and that she brings the perspectives of a former Supreme Court law clerk, a former federal public defender, a former district court judge, former federal appellate court judge, and all of her backgrounds show that she's well qualified, and that the very important merit selection process just outlined by David Brown reflects the many diverse faces of the United States, along with the other Supreme Court justices. And again, we're thrilled with her historic appointment.
So you touched on, and I guess I wanted to ask you a little bit deeper, why is it that diversity and inclusiveness, especially on the bench, matters?
It matters, especially in a collaborative group like the U.S. Supreme Court. All 9 justices are deciding a case, are offering their own perspectives, their own background, their expertise, their experiences. And so her unique background, experiences, expertise will bring that additional viewpoint to the Supreme Court that's been lacking before.
And what do you think that, I guess, again, diversity and inclusiveness means to the public?
The public should have more confidence in the U.S. Supreme Court. The public will know that there's one person of the 9 who has all of these unique background experiences, expertise, perspectives that further reflect the U.S. population and the public.
Well, Ashley, not only are you the first African-American woman to argue in front of the Iowa Supreme Court, you are also a part of the public defender system here in the state of Iowa. Judge Jackson will be the first public defender to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. So could you talk just a little bit about what that means to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Certainly. I echo exactly what Emily was saying earlier, that a diverse perspective on professional attributes are really important to the court. In this case, we know that the Supreme Court hears several criminal arguments every term, every session they have. And to have someone who's been a public defender helps the court be able to see all sides of an issue better. And that's always a good thing for anyone who's being represented by their attorney at the Supreme Court. But it's also good for the nation, because we know that the Supreme Court makes laws that change the lives of everyone in the nation, from Iowa to California, from Arizona to Washington, D.C. And so to have someone who has that experience just brings more and adds more to the court.
And I would be remiss without asking you about what it meant to you to see the first African-American woman appointed or nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, certainly as a lawyer, I'm always excited for anyone who gets on the Supreme Court. We've had women before, so I could identify with that because obviously I'm a woman. But this adds a different layer. There's an African-American woman who I can see myself in her shoes. I argue appellate cases, much like she did and much like she hears as a judge. And then she's an African-American. But beyond that, she's a qualified African-American. And I like to view myself in that same way. And I would think that any other young African-American lawyer or child, like my daughter, who's coming up will be able to see that and emulate that. But beyond that, anyone should be able to emulate what she can do, because as David talked about, her qualifications are immense.
And what do you think her perspective as a public defender brings to the U.S. Supreme Court that has been kind of lacking?
The only thing I can say about that is really she'll be able, the Supreme Court generally overall sides with the state in a lot of times in criminal cases. I'm not saying that she'll change that necessarily, but she might bring a different viewpoint to talk about what's going on the defense side for a defendant. I don't think that will sway her. I think she'll be impartial when she hears the cases, but it's just another viewpoint to bring, and that never hurts.
David.
If I could add one more thing, Anjie,
Sure.
and thank you for that. We had 3 reading groups, Stanford, University of Illinois, and practitioners reading group. We read every single opinion Judge Jackson has ever read. I read every single opinion Judge Jackson's ever read. So we heard people kind of take pieces of this and throw them up on a TV screen, which they're certainly entitled to do. But actually, I can share this with our public, our bar, our people here. If you look at the full record, it's an astonishingly beautiful record. And this is an extremely well-qualified person. So the ABA rating is not political. The ABA rating of that committee of 18 people was unanimous in rating her well-qualified for competence, temperament, and her ethics. And basically, the characterizations that people make in little tidbits we found to be incomplete, to say the least, and basically there's no reason to think that she won't be an outstanding justice when she's confirmed, hopefully this week, by the United States Senate. Thank you for the chance to visit with you.
Well, thank you all for participating in this. Thank you all for watching this as we celebrate the first African-American woman's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court. It is historic in nature, and our role as the Iowa State Bar Association isn't just to support our lawyer members, but also to educate the public. So again, we really appreciate the opportunity to provide a little bit of snippet into this historic event. And again, thank you for watching.